Okay. Hello, hello. Let's start, huh? Good questions tonight. Miss Sophie, you are up first. Oh, hang on, let me just add die. Uh, hang on 1 second. Hello, Sophie. I'm with you now. Sorry, I was just trying to find your face on my screen when I put it in this different view for the replay. Oh, I love your wall art thing. I used to have those in my old house. Looks excellent. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I have something I want to say to you before I answer your question.
Yes.
All right, you're not in trouble or anything. It's okay. But listen, these calls are absolutely for you to get whatever questions you have, even if I have answered it before. So I totally love and
Mhm.
appreciate that you're like, hey, if this has been asked, can you tag me?
Yeah.
But even if it has been asked or I've covered it, it doesn't mean that you can't ask it again and again and again, right? Like I've covered so many, especially love language questions or sibling rivalry questions and things like that. And every single family, every single child there's always subtle nuances that are different that make a really big difference. Okay. So even if I've covered something, even if you've gone and watched some videos on a topic before, you still have every right to come here and ask me whatever your question is. Okay.
Okay.
So I appreciate you looking out for me, but I want you to give yourself permission to take up some space and to know that you are important too and that you're not wasting my time and you're allowed to ask for whatever you need. Okay.
Okay.
Lesson number one. All right. Lesson number two. Let's do the question. Now, so you mentioned, sorry, there's somebody trying to get in, but they keep coming up and going off and coming up and going off. I keep saying admit, but then I don't know, maybe they're not connecting properly. It drops out and they come back. Okay. So this is about your daughter, and she is 6. And basically, it's around her having her big emotions. And you're saying that when she has these really big emotions, not only is it at the time, but if you bring it up later, she'll go back into the emotion just as big as it was when it actually happened. And you said something. Yep.
She's bringing it back up. So she's bringing it back up, not me.
Okay, that's good to know. Oh,
Mm.
that's a very big clue for me. Okay, excellent. And you said it basically happens when she doesn't get her own way. And the examples you gave was like sharing toys or picking the game with cousins and friends or not getting something from the shops that she would like. So
Yeah.
it seems that when she's not getting what she wants. Oh, 1 second, here comes your sister-in-law and die again. Oh, it was a glitching, was it, Marlon? That is so weird. All right. I think Amanda's just joined now? Oh, yeah, and Di's in now. Okay, cool. It's working. So, all right. So big emotions. Now, I want to ask you a couple of questions. We haven't had a talk like this before, me and you, like a little one-on-one talk, right? So are you comfortable? Are you okay to do a little bit of like some real talk with me? Like, you're not too precious or anything. I love you and I'm never going to try and hurt your feelings, but
Yeah.
sometimes the feelings get hurt in the process of discovering the truth, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that'll be tonight, but just to, put that out there. So let me ask you first, how do you feel about big emotions? And it doesn't matter what the answer is. I'm not looking for right or wrong or to pick on you for something. What I'm looking for, first of all, is what are the energies that are potentially playing into this so that I can help you with what you can do with her from your position. Because if big emotions are really triggering and uncomfortable for you, then it's different advice to if you're someone that is fine with drawing that hard line or you're someone that's totally comfortable with your own big emotions versus being someone that avoids your own big emotions, for example. Do you avoid your own big emotions?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I kind of had a feel for that, which is why. So here's the principle. Any single thing that you are not able to sit within yourself, right? Any edge you can't meet yourself in, you will never be able to hold space for your child in, because your child is a mirror of the part in that moment of the part of yourself that you do not like and that you run from and that you abandon and reject and deny and disown and detach from and get rid of as often as you can, right?
Yeah.
This is a process. It's the trauma process. It's called fragmentation, okay? We do a lot of this stuff. This is like the premise of the whole weekend at Happy to. Are you open to Happy to Whole? Are you coming to?
I'm looking at trying to get there. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything in particular that is a sticking point for you on getting there?
There's two. So, financial, and the other one is separation from Ebby that
Okay.
I need to work on. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So it's good for me to know that, because if those are the only two things stopping you, right? I mean, I can't help you with your money situation. That's more you prioritizing your money however you need to do it. But there are payment plans, right? So like there's a way to be able to make that feel a bit more manageable. And you can pay it off over 6 months. But just on that, actually, this reminded me, I should tell everyone that at the end of June, we will probably stop the 6-month payment plan, only because October is getting close now. So you'll just have to pay it off quicker, which means the payment plans will go up, if that makes sense, in terms of the installments. All right. But right now there's 6 months available. Okay. So, and that is probably more just a situation of you just making a decision, right? What I find normally when people, have what feels like financial issues more, and I'm not disregarding that finances are a thing. I absolutely respect that, but it's also the best and easiest excuse to avoid something that feels scary. Okay.
Yeah.
Because if I said, let's go on a holiday, do you want to come to Bali? We're all doing a girls' trip, like let's do a parenting trip or something like that. You would find $3,000 to get to Bali and come on a trip, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just all I say is be real with yourself on it, okay? If you know that, if you were serious about it, you'd work out the finances, then just own that. Just go,
Yeah.
I'm there. I've got some fears. I know as soon as I'm ready, I'll work out the money. The money will happen somehow. I'll work that out. It's just convenient for me to just kind of use that to not, just be real with
Yeah.
yourself on that. It'll open something in you that brings more flow in for you. And what happens when you do that and you get resolved on a decision that you're making, particularly for your soul's journey. So I've had this so many times, people on this call could literally open their lines right now and share with you that only when you choose to go all in on yourself, it's like this magic power opens up. And like next week, send a link and like, oh, sorry, here's an extra $1,000. We accidentally, need to back pay you for something or whatever. Or, you'll get like another, $2,000 in your tax you didn't expect. Or just, it's like money just shows up and you don't know how, but it happens. I had some people, even with doing like one-on-one coaching with me for a year, like $40,000, right? And they really wanted to do it. When I do one-on-one coaching for a year, they have to pay upfront in full, right?
Yeah.
But there's no like payment plans on that, right? It's literally an all-in. It's supposed to skin your knees. It's supposed to, you're putting in some hurt money, right? Two of my clients that have done that, one is Rachel Sampson. So she's actually Danny's cousin, and she really wanted to do it. She was battling with herself and all this. And then she literally just decided 1 week later, so at that time, she was in my beta testing group. It was like $35,000, not 40. And she ended up getting $37,000 more back on her tax the following week, even after talking to the accountant previous weeks, that she didn't expect. And Sharon McKittrick is the other person. And when she was tossing and turning about it for a while, and she's got a house with a lot paid. She's like, oh fuck it, worst case I'll just draw on the house or something like that, like I'm just going to do it. And then she did it, right? But she toyed with this for like a month, 2 months. Like she's been wanting to do it for ages. She had been wanting to do it for ages. Once she made the decision, guess what happened for her 3 weeks later? She got offered a promotion that she wasn't even going for. Like a boss came directly, before we put this out to the organization, do you want this? Because we'll give it to you if you want it. And guess what the pay rise was? $40,000. right? Crazy stuff, like literally exactly what she
Yeah.
did. So just trust, just have faith. If you're feeling called to it, just lean in, make the decision. The longer you leave it, the more you torment the shit out of yourself. Okay. And that's
Yeah.
not good for anyone, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of limit the magic that can show up. So that's what I've got to say on that. Not just with coming to the retreat, by the way, anything in your life that you feel called to do, right? Within in
Yeah.
any, okay. Secondly, and I am getting back to your daughter, and this is all part of it, okay?
Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to say, oh yeah, your daughter. Okay, you said you haven't been away from her before. So the good thing is, if you absolutely decide, put it like this, there's two different energies, and I'm gonna use this as a principle for you right now and take it into the answer that I've got for you and your daughter, right? On what's going on.
Yeah.
It's a personal thing for you, and it's playing out in your daughter, all right? And this will
Yeah.
change her. So another thing is this, and this is what we all do as parents, don't get me wrong. When someone invites us to a party, we're like, oh yeah, like, all right, I want to come. Like, let me see if I can get a babysitter, and then I'll decide if I'm coming, right? And it's a whole different energy, like universe. If the universe responds to resolve, right? The universe only responds to resolute decisions, really. That's the space that we ask to be open up for us. And so when we do anything, even if it's just going out with a friend or to a party or something, we're like, oh yeah, I'll see if I can, once I get all these things organized, then I'll let you know if I can come. Versus, do you know what? I want to come. I'm going to be there for you. I don't know how. I don't know who the fuck's going to babysit yet, but it's going to have to work out somehow. It's just going to have to, because I'm coming. I'm putting my name down. I'm paying the money. I'm booking the spot, whatever it might be. I'm RSVPing to my friend. I'm coming, and then I'll work it out. Now what happens is, even when you go and approach someone to babysit, for example, instead of being like, just feel the energy of this, right? Because I want you to use this when it comes to even dealing with your daughter. But instead of being like, oh, hey, is there any chance you'd be happy to have, what's your daughter's name?
Ebony.
Ebony? Is there any chance you might be able to have, like, doesn't matter if you can't, but like, would you be able to have her next Saturday night? Oh, I've just got like a friend's, like the energy is different versus calling the same person, your mum, your sister, bloody Amanda, whoever it might be, and going, hey, I need a favor. I need you to have Ebony. I've got something on Saturday night and I'm not getting out of it. I've already RSVP'd. Like, please, is there any chance you can have her? It's just a very different energy that person gets the chance to buy into. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel the difference? Not like, oh, would
Yeah.
you please, could you possibly? It's like, hey, I need a favor so badly. I'll be so grateful if you can help. Is there any chance? And it's just a whole different conviction about you. Yeah.
Yeah.
When that happens, you move mountains, right? I always say this to people with their jobs and stuff when they need to get time off work. Don't go to your boss and go, oh, would I be able to have 3 days off work this week? You go, hey, like, you book whatever you're doing, whatever it is, you just fucking decide on it, even if before you even just decide. And with that energy, go to the boss, hey, I need these 3 days off. I'm not going to be here these 3 days. Like, I'm overseas. I've got flights booked. I can't work these 3 days. It's whole different to like, is it possible if I can have those days off? And what does the boss do? The boss matches your energy. Instead of being like, oh, well, let me see, I'll talk to the manager and I'll get back to you and see if we can give you those days, versus, oh, really? Oh, you're away? Oh, fuck. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, we'll find someone. Don't worry. I mean, go do your thing, right? So the responses that you get from the world depends on the definiteness and the intensity that you are willing to make any of your decisions. Yeah.
Okay.
And that includes what I'm going to bring into this answer here with your daughter. Okay. So back to you not really liking feeling your emotions and really being, and look, I have no doubt that the reason you're scared of your big emotions is because those big emotions, without even knowing about your past, are fucking scary, right? They're big and scary for a reason. They're full of trauma. They're full of memories you never want to revisit. They're full of, like situations that crushed you, right?
Yeah.
And if that hasn't been resolved, then the energy of those memories or those situations are left wherever they got left, when you were 6, when you were 10, when you were whatever. Those
Yeah.
then become the energies that you bring into a relationship now with a little girl that's now looking to you for guidance, that they're not sure about life, they're insecure, they look to us for the definiteness on life, they look to us to find the security, they feed off our energy. And if it doesn't feel like a big deal to you, then I will receive the energetic conversation that it's not a big deal. I'll have my tantrum, I'll process my emotions, and I'll be done with it. But
Yeah.
if, as I process my emotions, I can't work out why, but I feel such an unease from you. You don't like these big emotions. You don't know what to do with my big emotions. My big emotions scare you, just like your own big emotions scare you, because this is what pulls you into feeling powerless or something like that. I don't know what to do here, which
Yeah.
when your daughter's doing that, it's the same as being a child with, let's say, I'm just making up a story here, but with a parent, I'm just going to be stereotypical, and let's just say a scary dad with a big loud voice going off at you, and you can't control that. You don't know how to make this stop. It is scary and you don't know how. So your nervous system, any moment there's big emotions that you feel somewhat responsible for because you're the parent and you wish you knew how to help your daughter, but you don't, what happens is it literally triggers, and your nervous system only knows where it left off. And it just literally has the same experience of being the 6-year-old that couldn't stop the dad from yelling, or couldn't stop, getting the blame for something that she was getting blamed for that wasn't even her fucking fault, but she's being made responsible. Can you
Yeah.
see the principles are the same?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
and then what happens is when your daughter's got big emotions, she never really gets the chance. The reason that she can bring it up, so I believe this, the reason she's bringing it up again is one of two things, okay? And it can be both things sometimes, or it can be one or the other, okay?
Yeah.
And this is without me really knowing too much about you and your daughter and your life and all that. Like I'm kind of just filling into this, right?
Yeah.
Feel free to speak up and correct me if I'm wrong at any point, or add to what I'm saying, or if you're open to giving me more detail about
Yeah.
anything in your life, I can help pinpoint it more. Okay.
I suppose a lot of it, when she does have her moments, if it is out in public, I go to shame.
Right.
Um, and it's more of the perspective of everyone looking at me, not looking at her.
Right.
I feel that they're looking at me rather than the tantrum that she's having.
Okay. And if they were looking at you, let's say they are, let's say you're right, they're all looking at you.
Yeah.
That moment, not with your logical brain right now, but in that moment, what do you tell yourself they are saying or thinking about you?
Um,
Like, why are they looking at you?
More of the fact of, well, why is she having the tantrum? Like, what have you done for her to be acting that way?
Okay.
Or why can't you just get what she's asking for, because she's making a big scene because she wants one thing.
Okay. So one way or another, you're responsible for her tantrum, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you a big question? If you're not comfortable to do this here, it is okay for you to be in your power, okay? Because all this wound comes from moments in your life of being powerless, okay? And in the moment where your daughter's doing that and you think everyone's looking at you, like, again, you're powerless. You can't stop it. You can't stop everyone from looking at you. You can't stop your daughter. You're in complete powerlessness. So the first thing that's most important here is that you give yourself permission to take back any power and to not be powerless right now, and to say, I'd rather not talk about that. Okay. And that's okay. All right. That's you stepping into a little bit of a healing moment and taking back some power. Okay. So are you open to me asking a big question? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who, if I was to ask it like this, who in your life made you responsible for how they were feeling, for their anger or for their sadness, or like, you did this, I'm sick of you, kind of a thing? It could be anything like that.
I would say both of my parents.
Okay. All of your life? Oh, darling, that's big. Just sit there for a second, babe. Don't rush through this little moment. I won't dig you any deeper. I promise you, you are safe here. I just want you to just gently open your body to whatever it is you're feeling. And I just want you to meet it. I want you to imagine like this, okay? That this feeling that you're getting right now, this this overwhelm of feeling, it's called being flooded. If all of a sudden you've got like this surge of that feeling, that shame, you can feel like your pulse, your heartbeat, you feel hot, whatever it might be that you're feeling. I want you to imagine like this, that this feeling is your inner child. Imagine this, imagine it's a little 2-year-old that's knocking at the door that just wants you to let it in. And all your life, you've been afraid of this 2-year-old because this particular version of you gets you in trouble, right? This person, like this part of you is like, this isn't the fun child. Like imagine if every emotion was a different child. There's the fun child, there's the excited child, there's the clever child, the smart child, the caring child, the compassionate child. And then there's the child, who all the rest. There's the angry child, there's the grief child, there's the I'm the one that's wrong child, I'm the one that's being blamed child, whatever it might be. So just imagine that this feeling is like a little child knocking at the door and probably has been all your life. But this child you're afraid of because their feelings are so big. And whenever you would express the feelings of this child, you probably got in trouble for that. Got told off for whatever it might be, for being angry, for crying too much, for being a sook, for fucking whatever it might be. Yeah. And you weren't allowed to have your emotions. And then your expressions were then the reason your parents were angry, or the reason, like it's your fault we're like this. Well, if you didn't do that, then I wouldn't be like this. It's all your fault. Yeah. So every time this child knocks at the door, all your life until this moment right now, you have been doing one of two things. You either go to the door, you see that it's the child, and you fucking shut the door, and the child does not get let in. Yeah. It gets completely rejected, completely abandoned. This part of you, imagine it's not you, imagine it's a separate little child. It gets abandoned, it gets rejected, it gets denied, it gets dismissed, it gets disowned, all of these things. Yeah. Or it knocks at the door and you're like, I fucking know who that is. I'm not even going near the door. I'm just ignoring it. I'm just pretending I didn't hear the knock. And all this child is wanting from you just for now, okay? If you do come to happy to whole, we will bring this child back into your wholeness. This child, instead of being a fragmented part of you that sits on the outside of your reality, trying to project itself into the world around you, and particularly through your daughter, so that you can see it, because it's like this child's like, you won't see me through yourself. So if I have to mirror myself into the world around you for you to see me, like I will never give up on coming home to you. I will never give up on that. Either you see me and you let me in, or I will find another way for you to see me by projecting myself into your daughter and people around you that you can't escape. Okay? Yeah. Now, this child doesn't need you to fix it. All this child needs right now, the first step, is just for you to let it come inside. So imagine this. Imagine it's knocked at the door when you feel that rush and that surge that you were just in. And just by sitting with that, and instead of trying to get away from the feeling, just by literally opening your body to that feeling, it's like you're saying to the child, come on, come inside. It's your turn now. I know you have never got any of my attention. I know you're the last person I've ever wanted to sit with. And you sit by watching me hang out with all the other children in my life, with the happy child, with the busy child, with the I can do everything child, blah, blah, blah. And I never sit with you. And it is your turn. And all this child wants, it doesn't want you to fix its problems. It doesn't want you to talk to it. It doesn't want you to interrogate it. You know what it wants? It just wants to come inside, sit on your lap, and snuggle up on the lounge. And just sit all day. Let's just watch a movie together. Just let me sit on your lap. You don't have to talk to me. Just let me sit with you. Yeah. And as you open to receiving that child, and just imagining as you open your body, what I want you to do There's two things here. I'm just going to give it to you a little bit deeper so we can really work on this at a deeper level and clear the cycle completely, instead of me just telling you how to handle your daughter's emotion and putting band-aids on top of this all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you are intending on coming to Happy to Whole and you're willing to get more serious about, making that decision or whatever, this would be the work that I would love to gently do with you between now and the next 4 months or whatever it is that we've got, so that by the time we get to Happy to Whole, you are somewhat comfortable with at least sitting with this child and whatever other child chooses to show up between now and then. You don't know how to fix them, you don't know how to get rid of them, but you're just learning to not be so afraid of them. Yeah. So what I want you to do is, if you've got the time each time, just open your body to it. The next step is, an easy way to do this is just to close your eyes and scan your body and just find where in your body, like where in my body is this energy sitting? It is distinct. You'll either have like a knot in your gut, or your chest will feel heavy, or your throat will feel tight, or your fingers are tingly. Somewhere in your body, you notice there's an energy. You're like, oh God, I didn't even realize. My whole shoulder is just aching, right? Doesn't matter what it is and where it is. Just find where in your body it is, right? Because once you can locate an area, it makes it easier for you to sit with that feeling, because you're directing the attention to it. If that makes sense, you've got your attention on something, like you know what you're focusing on. And all I want you to tell it is, I'm completely here with you right now. Like, hey there, little one. Even if you're like, hey, I don't have a lot of time for you right now. I see you. Okay. I see you. I see you're there. I know you need to sit with me. I've got 20 seconds and I have to be out the door. I don't have time to sit with you now, but I do see you and I will come back for you later. So instead of just fully abandoning it, you're like, I know I've got the feeling. Like, you're like, okay, I need to fucking get my daughter out of this fucking shopping center because I'm going to lose my shit. Like, it feels like when I was 6 years old, right? And I'm responsible for fucking someone else's emotions. And it's my fault that my daughter's crying. And I'm powerless to everyone, looking at me, which shames me. Yeah. And even though they're probably not, that reality is real for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is how you stop abandoning that child. And what will happen is this: the reason that your daughter, like, she thrives, she's got like an instinct, like she knows, her soul knows why she is here. And the biggest reason our children come to us is to call us forwards into our higher levels of expansion. Our children are the lessons we can't escape. When these lessons show up to us through friends and boyfriends and partners and, bosses and colleagues, we can leave the job, we can get rid of the boyfriend, we can literally shut the world out to avoid it until we have a child. And then we can't. Yeah?
Yeah.
So she knows this. Now, one of the reasons that she comes back to it and she feels it just as much as she felt it yesterday is because it's completely unresolved for her. Completely. It's as fresh as it was yesterday because there's no resolve in it. She hasn't been able to complete that emotion. Why? Because you aren't able to be there for her. She is feeling emotionally abandoned by you. Not because you mean that, but I'm going to tell you the truth. And sometimes these things are fucking hard to hear. Okay. You might be there in person. You might be hugging her, touching her, rubbing her back, telling her it's okay, whatever you're trying to do. And if anything, that gives her more anxiety and stops the process of it, because what she feels is like, what you're telling me it's okay, but nothing about this feels okay. Like,
Yeah.
I feel I don't, you are not there for me. I don't feel a security or a safety in what you're able to offer me. And that makes sense. And the truth is you can't. And that's okay. That's not bad. It doesn't make you a bad mum. You're not giving her trauma that she's never going to be able to fix for the rest of her life. It is creating some trauma, but nothing that can't be fixed.
Yeah.
It's part of the cycle. She chose you. Her
Yeah.
soul came here knowing this. Okay. So until you are completely comfortable with the totality of your own big emotions, You can't be comfortable with the totality of hers. And so you'll absolutely, all of us do subconsciously, even if we don't do it intentionally, we find ways to pull them out of it. We distract them. Oh, look, there's a bird over there. Or, oh, that's okay. How about we go into this shop? How about I get you this? Just anything to get them out of that emotion because of what we're feeling, because we're feeling shame, or when she won't share with her cousins, or when she won't play the game, you feel like it's a reflection on you because somebody programmed you, somebody installed that program on you, Soph.
Yeah.
That all the problems are because of you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I need to let her feel what she's feeling at that moment.
Yeah. Beautiful. You really do. And you know what? The first place to start is with truth. That, like, even if it means you have to rush out of the shopping center so that you can hold some more space, so that you haven't got the story playing out in your head while you're trying to do this with her, or you take her into the fucking disabled toilets and lock the door and let her cry, and you can be in there when no one can see you. Like, you want to have some compassion for yourself too and give yourself one less thing to have to deal with, right? So it's okay to do that. Just walk, just fucking get somewhere if you need to where it feels a little safer, right? And you can even tell her whatever feels real for you. You know, you can say, I know this is hard, because that's true. It's hard. And that feels real. When you tell me this is hard, like, I feel truth in that because it's hard for you. This is hard for me. We're both in the hard basket together. So now I don't feel alone.
Yeah.
Because that's what's the scariest thing, not just having our feelings and children having their feelings, but them feeling alone in those feelings, or us trying to make it better, which sends them the subconscious message that you shouldn't feel this. It's not okay to feel this. Like, let me find a way for you to get out of this feeling, which sends them the message, you are wrong for feeling this. And that can be devastating for you to hear, because you're like, I've been made to feel wrong for everything in my life, and everything was always the last thing I want to do to my child is ever repeat that cycle. And so you make sure you go to the ends of the earth to make sure you never do to her what both your parents did to you. But in this other around the backdoor way, she still ends up receiving the same message.
Yeah.
Not because you are making her feel it, but because you wouldn't let her feel it, because you tried to not let her feel it. And she receives the same message. There must be something wrong with me.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
So this is a journey. The more that you can sit with your own emotions, even in the moment that she is doing that in front of everyone, the more that you can just also, as well as you've got your 6-year-old there, you can inside your own head, just in the quietness of your own heart, just be like, see the feeling, and inside your own heart go, I see you, little one. I see you. You're fucking scared right now. You think everyone's looking at you. You think all the fingers are pointed at you. Darling, it's okay. I see you. This is not your fault.
Yeah.
And so I want to do one last thing with you. Okay.
Yeah.
I want you to look at my eyes. Yeah. And I want you to just open your heart a little bit. Yeah. Even if it's scary, I just want you to open your heart. Feel like you're locked in my eyes. Okay. And I want you to know it's not your fault. It's not your fault, babe. Let yourself feel into that. Let it sting. Don't close the door. Just let this child just come snuggle up on your lap. It's not your fault, Sophie. I know that's hard for you to believe right now. I know you want to believe that. And I want to help you get to a place where you really can feel that, where you intrinsically, with every cell in your body, you know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so brave of you to show up here, babe, and to ask this question, and to let me take you down some deeper layers instead of giving you a surface level answer. I could feel it when I read it.
Yeah.
The fact that she brings it up, so especially when you said to me, she brings it up, all she's looking for is permission to feel the emotion again because it's still sitting there for her. It's not gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not metabolized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can see that now because I come back to things because I don't process them as well. Yeah.
Mm. What a beautiful reflection for you to notice. These are
Yeah.
how cycles play out unintentionally, accidentally, on our watch, but under beneath our awareness. And then we wake up and we're like, fuck, that cycle's been happening. Babe, she's 6. She's
Yeah.
6. There's not a single thing that we can't heal in her so much. If you are willing to do the work, there's not a thing that could have happened in her life so far that we can't heal so much that she can't even remember it by the time she's 10.
Okay.
It just won't even exist for her in her experience.
Yeah.
Okay. But the journey isn't you giving her those lessons. The journey is you leaning into those lessons and you saying, this shitty cycle that probably repeated through many generations in your family, not just with you. Your parents probably did that because something like that probably happened for them too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just starts by you saying, this cycle stops with me.
Yeah.
However, I need to show up, however hard that is. There's a specific exercise, there's 2, but there's one in particular that we do at the retreat that is all about gently meeting yourself in a very hard edge, an edge that feels impossible to meet yourself in the moment for a few seconds, right?
Yeah.
And not trying to like just push through that feeling. It's not about that. It's about opening and softening and meeting yourself there so that that part of you stops being abandoned.
Yeah.
And when it stops being abandoned, the child feels safe to come home. And when the child feels safe to come home, it moves back in. And when it moves back in, it no longer needs to project itself out there. You'll go home and be like, I feel like some magical fucking unicorn just swept through my house in the last week since I came back from the retreat because Sophie, my daughter's, Ebony's behaviors are so fucking different.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what happened. And we'll be like, we know exactly what happened, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want you to just lean into that edge you've got, that fear you've got about being at the retreat and, make a decision. If you find it hard to make decisions for the benefit of yourself, then do it for Ebony.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And in the meantime, all I want you to do for Ebony is just say to her what you feel, if you can identify your inner child would have loved to have heard when you were having those same feelings. So you can even sit with that right now and you can even make some notes tonight or something, just going, well, this is a bit fresh, just going, like, let me go back, like, let me call that feeling forwards in my body and just remember what moments did I feel like this? Where in my life did I feel like this? And then when you were able to get a few memories, just look at, if I could have had anything I needed, if the exact person walked in and did or said the exact thing I needed them to do or to say, what would that have been?
Okay.
And those become your words to yourself, to your own inner child, and to Ebony in the moment. And it could just be, it's okay. It's okay. You're allowed to feel sad. I know it sucks when you can't have things that you want. When I can't have things I want, it sucks for me too. I hate it.
Yeah.
Like for the child, it's a lolly they can't have. For us, it's like the home loan that we wanted, the car loan that we want. When the bank says no, it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like, what's your problem? I've got the money, I've got the deposit. What is your actual problem?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the same for the child. It's not about the thing, it's just them being able to move through some feelings in their life. Yeah. So just say, I know this is hard and it's okay. You are allowed to be sad, darling girl. You can be sad. And you know what? I don't even care if we're late to the next thing that we're going to. You cry as much as you need and tell her the truth. I don't know what to say. I'm just going to hold you and I'm just going to tell you it's okay. She can be As you say this to her, you're reparenting the inner child that's sitting on your lap, snuggling on the couch with you on the inside.
Okay.
You take as long as you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a truth, and you'll feel strong and congruent in that. And she'll feel a different energy in that because the truth has weight to it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where kids will feel secure instead of us trying to pretend, or, it's incongruent. Like, you're telling me this, you're telling me it's okay, but nothing about this feels like it's okay. And what that does is it basically gaslights our children, and it
Yeah.
teaches our children to switch off their intuition. Because what happens is they trust us. We're like a god to them. They trust us more than they trust themselves, right? And this happens, by the way, I'll give you a quick example. Everyone listen here, because I know you'll all have examples like this in your lives. So this is how easy it can be for trauma. So trauma is nothing other than an unmet need. And trauma is something that makes us change a part of ourselves, that we don't allow that part of ourselves to show up anymore, or we abandon and we reject and we remove and omit that part of ourselves, right? That's the response to something. Like, that part of me is not okay. I'll need to change that about myself, basically. And here's how easy that can happen. And so it doesn't make you a bad parent. It's just something to be aware of, right? And that is incongruency, is like lying to your kids. Like, when they're like, "Mummy, are you okay? Are you sad?" And you're like, "Oh, no, darling, Mummy's okay. No, I'm happy." Like, if you're not happy, please don't say that to your child. Please say, "You know what? You're right, darling. Thank you. Thank you for noticing that Mummy's heart feels sad today. You're right. It does feel sad today." And they might say, "What's wrong? What's wrong, Mummy?" And you go, "You know what? Mummy doesn't want to talk to you about what's wrong, because I'll talk to Daddy about that, or Mummy's got other, whatever." You can say, "I don't want to talk to you about what's wrong, but do you know what? I'd love your cuddles. I'd love you. I'd love a cuddle from you, because your cuddles help me more than talking." So, but when we validate that, or
Yeah.
when we don't do that, our child's like, "Okay, so I thought something was wrong, but you said nothing's wrong. But I felt like it was. But you are more right than I am. Like, I believe you more than I believe me. So what I was feeling must be wrong." Another one that happens easily with is the words "don't worry." So your child comes in and they're worried about, I don't know, school or something. And you're like, "Oh, darling, don't worry about that. Okay. Don't worry. Mummy will take care of that. I'll email the teacher. You don't worry about it. I'll get that sorted for you. I'll talk to the teacher tomorrow." Right. And every time we say "don't worry, don't worry, don't worry," what happens is our child's like, "Okay, so you're telling me that I shouldn't be worried. You're telling me not to worry, but I am worried. So if
Yeah.
I am worried, but I shouldn't be worried, then there must be something wrong with me."
Yeah.
Yep.
And she's a very big, like, emotion feeler. Like, so she can, I feel that she can walk in the room and she's already read my emotions before I've even spoken.
100% she has. Just like you would have learned to do that with your parents, with their anger or abuse or whatever it was that you dealt with. That was your protection mechanism. You had to become a highly attuned child so that from a mile away, you could sense what was going to happen and what mood they were going to be in before they even came into the room, so that you knew how you needed to behave as your way of controlling what was going to happen in the house. And you become so highly attuned to vibes, right?
Yeah.
And then if you don't process that, you'll always have an energy sensitive child that is the same, but also they carry vibes that actually belong to you, that they took from you in your womb. At the retreat, we do an ancestral process where you will go back into the womb of your mother, and you will even see and feel what you took from her, that you've carried with you your whole life, that doesn't belong to you, that belongs to her, but you took it from her, for her, on her behalf in the womb. And we've even had husbands that get dragged to this retreat that don't believe in this bullshit and have next level experiences, to the point where they're like embarrassed to even tell the room what happened for them, because they don't believe in this shit. Yeah, it's amazing. It's phenomenal. Okay. Hang in there, darling. You're doing a beautiful job. Okay. feel into your things, and just tell that, find the feeling in your body and tell it, I'm completely here with you right now. It's all it needs. If you can't remember anything else, just do that. Find the feeling in your body and just tell her, I'm completely here with you right now. I see you. You're allowed to come in. You're allowed to be here. That's all. Okay, just start there and stay in touch with me. Like next week, come back to the call. We can go a bit deeper. Let's see what happens just with you focusing on that. Let's see what happens with Ebony's behaviors this week. Sometimes they can go crazy worse because she gets really, she's like, what the fuck's happening now? Now I've got something different I'm feeling from you that I've never felt before. And now I'm anxious as to how to read this because I'm not familiar with this feeling that I'm getting from you now. So it can actually heighten some anxiety for the child, or they can go straight into, this feels better, this feels more real, and they feel a safety in that. Okay, so either way, there's no right or wrong. Share with me, and if you can't wait till next week, don't wait, post in the group, and either myself or someone else, I don't see all the posts that go in the group, but if I see it, I'll reply. And if you really, really, really need me, then tag me in it, okay, if it's really big. And you know what? You've got Amanda. There's no one better you could go to. There's no one better that I would trust more. I want her to come be one of my coaches, to be honest. Like, I really, like, she is the perfect person that if you couldn't get hold of someone else or you didn't feel safe enough, lean into your vulnerability and go to her. Yeah. She has done the work.
Yeah, she has helped me amazingly so far. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful, darling. All right, I want you to start there, okay?
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Scared, but accepting and ready.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Let yourself be scared. Don't close the door to the scared child. That's another little child that knocks. Yeah? Time to open the door to all of these children. Yeah?
Yeah.
You are held here, darling. All right, we've got you. Okay?
Thank you.
Sit with all of that for the rest of the night. Beautiful, babe. All right. Beautiful conversation. Oh, I love those. Sorry. Facebook lost my post again. All right, Amy, I'm going to come to you. Christy, I know you wrote next, but new people go first. That's all. Hello, darling lady.
Hello.
How you feeling?
Tired.
You got some stuff. Yeah, you got, can I ask you something? What are your, tonight's a bit of a big feeling night, isn't it? It really is. And that's beautiful, like it's I love it how like so often this happens where the undertone of all the questions are so similar. And it's like the universe knew we all needed a space to feel safe in all of this. And we feel safe when we know we're not alone. But I have a question for you first before we go into the whole school thing. How are you feeling, first of all, about your separation? Like, and I know that maybe it was something you needed and you're glad you're out of the marriage or something, and that's okay. But still, I always say there's three things we grieve for, right? I did a radio show on this. It's on my website if you care to listen to it or whatever. It's not in the best sound quality because back then it was like 7 years ago and we didn't have all these awesome tech stuff. Or I didn't have all the awesome tech stuff like I do today, but it's still good, and it got like millions of shares around the world. And it was literally about the grief of divorce. And what I spoke about in that is that we grieve for three things. Firstly, we grieve for the person. Yeah. And if you're the person that's made the final call, your grieving has finished before you've announced the final decision and said, we need to call it, right? And the other person starts their grieving process, right? When yours is basically at a point where you're so ready to release it, right? So your grieving is mostly done. Then we grieve for the habits, the missing pieces in our life that person used to play. So even on bin night when he would put out the bins and now you've got to remember to put out the bins, like all the little habits, we go through a grieving process there because there's loss. There's those gaps aren't filled in our life anymore and we have to fill them. Okay, so that's another thing. Totally separate from grieving for the person. We're grieving for the adjustments we have to make to life, to being a single parent, to being a full-time parent, whatever it might be. Okay. And the third thing we grieve for, and I'm not even sure if we ever stop grieving for this, because for me, it's been 8 years, like next month. And I don't feel like I'm finished my grieving on this one either. There are absolutely moments where, particularly when I get Facebook memories of, like, photos where we were together as a family with the kids, or our wedding day or something like that, there's definitely still an undertone of grief and loss. And that is that we grieve for the dream.
Yeah.
We grieve for the dream that we truly believed we were in when we became the little girl that grew up and became the princess and had the wedding and all the, people standing around and the white picket fences and all those things. And it's like we signed a soul contract with ourselves that that's what we wanted and that's what life was about for us. And that as we release ourselves from the human marriage contract, as part of that, we have to arrive at a place where we can release ourselves from this little soul contract we wrote with ourselves about how that was meant to be our forever. And it's got nothing to do with the person, because we know we can't be with that person anymore, but it's still the loss of the dream. It's the loss of, what we felt to be true. It's the loss of the promise that we made ourselves, not the other person, but that we made ourselves. So I want to just check in with you on that. How are you feeling about the separation?
Yeah, I think I'm sort of at the third one more so, is the bit that I still feel grief around. Is just, is the dream family home, just being, when I say happy, I don't mean like you're not ever happy all the time, but just generally content and comfortable and supportive and have a nice healthy family. I guess that's the bit that still hurts.
Absolutely. And the reason I ask is because there's, like, you are very aware of, there's a lot of space being taken up in you, which leaves you not much left for, like you said, your own routines and your own schedules. And, outside of what's left is taken up by the kids, and you still don't even have enough to, offer them what you wish you could. And then, you said about your daughter not going to school, and that part of her process is also the marriage, right? And whether better for her as an adult, that life is better for her as it is, it doesn't matter. The point is she's still adjusting, right? She's still working it out. And when she goes to her dad's house, she can't have you there, for example. If you aren't finished grieving, or if there's, if you're still sitting with your own adjustments, then we all take a level of responsibility in what our children are carrying because of this decision, even if we know the decision is the right one. And it's better for a child to grow up in 2 homes like you've got than 1 home like you had, right? It doesn't matter what level of logic you try to apply to that. We still feel responsible. And I use the word responsible instead of the word guilty, because we can translate the feeling of responsibility and give it a meaning of needing to be guilty. But that's not true for most people. And all we do is we use guilt as a way of punishing ourselves. And so the guilt eats us up. The guilt that we think we've done, provided this to our children or whatever. So that will be playing out in a big way, particularly when you are in moments when, coupled with that, you've got the knowing and the memory of what happened for you as a child and how abandoned and deserted you felt when you were left, and how you're so committed to making sure your daughter never feels like that with you, which I think is a beautiful thing. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And you can stay true to that. I love that, even though, you would love for there to be a scenario where you're with her until she feels calm all the time, that you are also willing to take her into a place where she's safe, student services, and leave her in whatever state she's in. And that at the end of the day, she is okay. Yeah. And so what I want to offer you here on that particular thing there, because I know that you hate how hard the mornings are, because you wake up with the dread of starting your day like this, and you've already got an empty bucket and you're like, it's going to be fucking kicked over, like bone dry empty before I even get to work, right? And so how you can help yourself to not have so much taken out of what's remaining in your bucket is to truly know, like really know, and I want to have this conversation. So feel free to like object and to say, oh, I don't really agree with that. Or I logically get that, but in an embodied sense, I can't align with that, right? Let's just talk truth here with where your body's at. And that is that in the moments that you are leaving her, but not abandoning her, you are not deserting her, because what you're doing is making sure her needs are able to be met, just not by you. Does that make sense? Like, I can't stay, but I'm not just going to walk out and leave you in the yard or leave you screaming at the door or something like that. I'm going to take you somewhere where there's time and there's space, and you don't have to go back to class, and you don't have to have all the extra stimulus coming at you, and you can be here until you're ready to go back to class. Yeah. And what you're doing in the moments where you allow her to have those feelings without you being there to fix them is literally preparing her for life, because many times in her life that will happen where, she's going to have to pull herself together, like in a particular situation from whatever emotion she was in 5 minutes ago, right? Like, the deal is your job interviews in 5 minutes, or whatever's happening, right? So what you're doing in those moments, by making sure her needs can be met, but without you being the person to meet them, is actually truly, in every sense of the word, building her resilience. Because where resilience comes from is a belief system. And how belief systems are built is through evidence. Like, we have to be able to collect evidence to support a thought. And when there's enough evidence to support an idea, then it becomes a belief. And once it becomes a belief, it's locked in. It becomes like a default operating system that in nanoseconds we operate from that space. Yeah. Without the evidence, we can't get the belief. Without the belief, we won't have resilience. And the belief is, you are okay. You actually are. I know you feel sad. You feel overwhelmed. You feel anxious, but you are okay, and you will be okay. And you don't need any one person to make things better for you. At this moment, it's you. But if you met all of her needs, she would eventually transfer that codependency with you to her boyfriend or to her best friend, and she'll smother those relationships and strangle those friendships because of how much she needs that one person. Does that make sense? So what you're allowing her to experience is life supports you. You don't have just one person. The world supports you, other people, other environments. You are supported by life itself. It doesn't matter where the support comes from, the support comes in. You get what you need, and you are able to move forwards. And by the end of the day, you're the happy little girl that I would have picked up if it was, on any other day, right? And so all of this becomes evidence for her brain, that literally when she's in situations where she almost feels like she's not sure if she can do this and this is too hard, the evidence pops up, the filing cabinet opens, and her brain goes, you are okay. You can do this. This moment will pass and you will move forwards. And that will become literally the default operating system that she lives her life on. So I want you to see in the now, you feel like you hurt her feelings. And no child can build resilience without having hurt feelings, without being allowed to have their feelings hurt, without us coming in to solve the hurt feelings. That's what builds codependency. If the only way their feelings are ever resolved is always through us and only through us, they build a belief that they need us, that they are not okay without us. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Shana shared her beautiful story here, like when she first joined the program. And she said, so her daughter's 12. And I remember her sharing how at 12 years old, like she went into year 7, and she's a very energy sensitive. She's a kinesiologist, and she's an amazing kinesiologist because she can really she's so attuned to what she's feeling. Right? Amazing. Now, where that had a double-edged sword, let's say, she shared how her 12-year-old going to year 7, and at the beginning of year 7, they all do these year 7 camps for like 1 or 2 nights or whatever. And her daughter had still never had a sleepover anywhere, and had, she said that even when she goes on school camps, Shana normally, she will stay at an Airbnb or somewhere close by, so that if her daughter needs her while she's on camp, and if she goes into one of her own anxieties or something like that, that absolutely Shana could be there for that. And my discussion with Shana, that she came back like a week later, basically 2 weeks later, saying how much it had shifted things, is I just shared with her that subconsciously, what she's saying to her daughter by being there all the time is, you can't do this. You won't be able to do it without me. You're going to need me. So I'm going to rearrange my life to make sure that I'm there, because you won't be able to move through what you're feeling without me. Does that make sense? That's not what she said and what she intended, but subconsciously, that's the message her daughter's been receiving, right? And Shana has just leaps and bounds. I mean, what I love about her is she is just such an open person, and always willing to put her hand up and learn something new and, do something different, even though she's so highly gifted at the work that she does, right? It has its place, but everything has its other side. And so I shared that with you so that you can see from a 12-year-old's perspective, from a 12-year-old, where it leads if, as a 6-year-old, we are there with them in their big emotions all the time. This is the upside of divorce. This is the silver lining of divorce. Yeah. If when you are with your children, emotions are welcomed, nothing is locked away, and you can have open discussions and talk about things and be there, but sometimes you're not there and they don't have access. They're at their dad's, and their dad parents differently to how you parent, and their dad doesn't care what you wanted just 5 minutes ago, anything like that, right? My kids have had this, and that doesn't mean Greg did something wrong with them. I totally support probably nearly every decision he makes. If we lived together, he'd probably still do that. And I'd say to the kids, hey, that's dad's decision. Yeah. And when you go to nanas and poppers and they don't let you have this or do this, or they don't really care when you've got emotions, because nana and papa aren't very comfortable with big sookie babies, or whatever you want to call it, whatever they call it. You know what? I'm not going to tell nana and papa what they have to do for you. You will learn instead how to adapt differently at nanas and poppers, at school, at dad's, and at home, at my house. And then what that means is you'll go out into life and always know you're okay in whatever situation. You'll have the adaptability to respond to the situation, to be there for yourself, because the only reason you ever learn how to be there for yourself is in the absence of me being there for you. You never get to learn how to calm yourself, how to talk to yourself, how to know you're going to be okay, even though this feels really shit right now, and you wish your mum was here, and you wish you could stay longer, and you wish you didn't have to go to school. The evidence an hour from now is going to be collected by your brain, where you're feeling happy and you're back in the classroom and everything's okay. And then you see your mum, and your mum doesn't disregard it and doesn't forget about it. She might go, tell me, how did you work through this morning? How did you work through all those? You were feeling some big feelings this morning. Yeah, it was so brave of you to be able to sit with yourself and how you were feeling. Tell me, I can see how happy you are at the end of the day. How did you move through it? Tell me what you did. What did you say to yourself inside your brain? What was it that made you start feeling better? Because you don't just magically start feeling better. You know that only you can control how you feel. You know that. So your thoughts or your ideas or your beliefs, those are the things that start making you feel better. No one else makes you feel better, because the teacher can come along and offer you help, and you can choose to not take the help and not care about the help and push the help away and stay in your sadness. That's a choice you could make. But if that teacher comes along and offers you help, and you open your heart and you receive that, that's you, babe. You did that. You did that. Yeah. So this is an opportunity to plant these kind of seeds for her. Yep. And in regards to the fact that you're going to homeschool your son and not your daughter, right? And she feels like she's getting a bit gypped there. What kid wouldn't, right? I want you to talk to her about like fairness, not sameness. Have you seen that video? It's in the video archives in the program. And I will wait, give me a second.
I haven't seen it, but I very much have a belief system all around the same thing. One size is not fits all.
Yeah.
That, you know, everyone's different and needs a different approach. So
Perfect.
she
Yeah,
knows
so
that.
different people have different needs. Okay.
Yeah.
And what makes something fair is that your needs are met and his needs are met. He needs new shoes right now. You do not. He needs touch. You don't. What you need is quality time. That's why you get to come for a drive in the car with me and he can't come. And that's why at night I sit there and tickle his back and I don't tickle yours. I lay and talk to you, and with him I give him a massage. It's not the same, but you both got your needs met. Yeah. And he's a different person. And his needs, what's fair is that I meet his needs just like I meet yours. And you can even share with her, his brain is different. His brain works differently to yours. And what he needs right now is to feel that he is safe, because his brain can't do what your brain does. His brain can't find its own security with itself. His brain can't come up with the thoughts that your brain does to know that even though you're sad, you're okay. It's going to be okay. I'll be back later and you can go and have a fun day in the meantime. His brain isn't able to do that because it works differently. So what's fair is that I help you with your brain and I send you to school and I make sure you go, because your brain works so well at being able to use all those experiences that don't feel really good sometimes to really build the belief, to really know how amazing you are, what a strong person you are, how capable you are, how resilient and adapt. You know, most adults aren't even as resilient and adaptable as you. You know, most adults will avoid going to a certain place or a certain party or going and getting they stay in a job that they hate because they don't have adaptability, because they don't believe that they'll be okay if they change jobs and have to learn some new things. So they stay for 20 years in a job they hate that kills their heart on the inside, all because they don't believe in themselves. They don't have resilience. But that will not be you, because you already got the resilience. You're building it right now just by being able to have a good day at school after you've had a sad morning. That's your resilience. But different brains work differently. And your brother's brain doesn't work quite like that. What his brain needs is safety. His brain needs none of that coming at him, because when those things happen to him, his brain says, I'm a bad person. I'm not good. Nobody likes me. And that's not true, but that's what his brain tells him. And that's why it's right for him to come away from school so that his brain and his heart can rest. And it's right for you, no matter how you're feeling, to go to school. I reckon you could have a conversation like that with your kids, with the way that you've raised them already, and with her especially.
Even just what you were saying about having other people around us that support us in life other than just me, I feel like I needed to hear that. Like, you know, I forget those sorts of things because there's been so many big things that I've had to deal with alone as a parent.
Yeah, darling.
Sometimes I just forget there are other, you know, that's out there as well.
So you can be in that journey with her. You can say, do you know what? Let's do this together. Because I know that sometimes your brain feels like no one can help you and life doesn't support you, and the only person that can help is me. And do you know what? I noticed that I started feeling like that, you know, and tell her, just speak about it like it's nothing. You know, since me and Daddy live in separate houses and I've been learning how to be a mum all by myself. And then I realized, do you know what? There's other people out there that would support me. And I had to go and find a place. And now on Tuesday nights, I get on these calls and I ask for the support and I post in the group, and it's not always Holly. It could be anyone that gives me an answer. And I realize, and my heart's starting to remember that there's never just one person that I need to support me, because I know life supports me. Life always gives me something or someone. If I'm willing to see it, I will see life always gives me the support somehow. And it might not come from the person I want it from. Maybe I made a post and I wanted Holly to reply and it wasn't Holly that replied. But the fact that Holly didn't reply meant that I had to receive and be open to receiving this other person replied. And you know what? That was the best support I could have had. Those words was all I needed. I just had to remember I didn't need a particular person. So we could learn this together. You could learn it about me not being your person. I can learn it about, you can use me as the example, just to whoever, your best friend, your mom or something, being your person. Let's both remind each other. Can you help me with that? Because sometimes I forget and I struggle too. So how about we be each other's coaches? How about when you're in your sadness and you're in that feeling, I remind you, life supports you. You are okay. You're learning how to be there for yourself, right? You've always got yourself to talk to. Yeah. And if ever you see me feeling a bit overwhelmed or a bit sad or a bit exhausted, can you remind me, Mom, remember, life supports you. Can you give me those reminders? I'd love us to do that for each other. Let her be your coach, because as she tells you, she's affirming it to herself. Does that make sense? So get her
Absolutely.
to use you to be the coach too. And like I used to say to my girls, like, for example, I used to go overseas like twice a year to some conferences in America and whatever. And, they'll talk about how much they miss me. And I'm like, I hope you miss me. Do you know why? I hope you miss me so much. I hope you even get sad over how much you miss me. Do you know why? Because we only miss people that we love. We don't miss people that we don't love. We don't miss people that mean nothing to us. So I like hearing that you miss me, and I like feeling in my heart how much I miss you, because it reminds me how much we love each other, because missing someone is just a sign of how much you love them. That's all. And other times I'd be like, I have to go out to a meeting and I've literally been home for like 3 minutes and I feel so bad. I've just walked in, got changed and have to leave again. And, I've got this 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 6-year-old, and, I've got to go out and do a meeting or something. And I would say, oh, I hate this. Miami. I remember Miami especially, because she was the one that was very sensitive and didn't want me to go. She's a bit of a mummy's girl. And I was like, oh, my, I don't want to go to this meeting. I hate it. I just want to stay home with you. Can you help me? Can you be my coach? Because my brain right now just wants to stay home and not go into the bad feelings of leaving. And she would say, Mum, sometimes you have to do things that you don't like doing. Come on, Mum, it's time to go to work. Come on. Remember, Mum, you'll see me in the morning. And like, I would literally give her tips on how to coach me. Can you tell me, what do I need to tell my brain again? Because my brain is forgetting all the words right now. Because I could see her lip dropping when she was about to cry, when I'll be like, Mom, I need you. Where's my coach? Where's my coach? My brain is not thinking the things I want it to think right now. What are the thoughts again? I forget. What are the words? And then she'd be like, Mommy, remember, sometimes we have to do things we don't like doing, and that our family makes sacrifices so that we can have a life that other people don't get to have. All these things that I would like put into the head, I would ask her to coach me back on them. And in the moments where she would coach me on that, they became her thoughts. And to this day, that's how her brain is programmed. Okay. So get her to be your coach. Does that feel helpful? Is there anything more you feel you need on that?
No, I mean, lots of little things have come up as you've been talking, and then you've kind of covered them off again. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And, I know you're coming to Happy to Whole, and we will unpack all of it. So all of these little efforts you're making in the meantime are going to just open, peel some layers so that we can walk in and start with the core of things. Yeah. And all of the grief from the marriage and all of the anger and all of the whatever it might be, the guilt that you have for what you've put your children through or whatever will be so cleared from you. But that doesn't mean we can't start working on it now. Yeah. And the soul parenting program is going to move some stuff through you as well. Don't pressure yourself. All right. Do them in your own time, like we've talked about. Okay. But that's what I would say for her going to school thing. Yeah. That be okay. What you did with leaving her in the office or whatever, the student services, was brilliant. And just remind yourself in that moment, this moment is not about what you're not providing for her, that in what you're not providing, there is a big thing that you are providing. And if you were to provide the first thing and stay longer and be there, you rob her of the experience and the ability to build the evidence, to build the belief, to build the inner voice. You take that away from her. That's what she needs for the rest of her life. She won't be 6 for it.
Yeah.
Whatever she is. What is she? Not 6. That was the last person.
6. No, you got it right.
She is.
Yeah.
She's 6.
She's 6. Yeah.
All right. So just know that you're doing that for her. This is a moment where you're giving her a chance because you leave with love, you leave with support. Yeah. And just leave those words. Remember, life supports you. It's not just about mummy supporting you, life. Because Ames, here's the thing. I'll say this one last thing. Like something that was always on my mind was like, what if I die? Right? Honestly,
Oh, yeah.
it's one thing for my kids to lose their mum. It's another thing for them to be absolutely fucked for the rest of their life because they lost their mum. Because without their mum, they don't have their own identity. They don't even have a belief in it. If anything, they believe life sucks because life took my mum from me. Like if I was to die, they are going to have the rest of their lives to live. I never want them to ever for a minute believe that I am all they need. Never. Something could happen to me. And they've got the rest of their lives to live. Yeah. So always bring it all back to life or to God or to the universe, whatever it is for you. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, you're welcome, darling. You're very welcome. Let me know how that goes and if that shifts the energies with her going to school or even just how you feel about leaving her at school. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Lost that again. Facebook have this timeout thing now. When you put your screen down for too long, it just takes it away. All right. Mel, are you here? And Marie, let me come to you. Mel. Oh, yes, you are, darling. Hello. Oh,
Hang on.
how you going?
Yes, no, I'm here.
Darling?
Thank you.
So, yes.
Yeah, very different subject to the other ones.
So wait, what are you saying? You still want me to answer your first question about the dad thing? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yes, please.
The subject to the
Great,
last.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep, that's okay. That's okay. Yours, I do with being 14 and 16. Here's what I believe it can be as simple as this, right? Even when I look at yours, I'm like, I feel so like convicted of this answer for you. And that is that, so let me just ask, do they do the communicating with their dad about when they're going, or do you do it on their behalf?
Well, yeah, that is the difficulty pretty much, has been the whole time. So we've drawn up a parenting plan, but as I said, nothing has happened this year at all in that regard. So usually the arrangement is they go there Thursday after school to Saturday 5 o'clock, or Saturday after school, Saturday afternoon to Monday morning to school. Because I work weekends, Saturday, Sunday alternating. So that was sort of the setup. And he was 5-0, but he has not worked now for 3 years. So he's on a whatever payout. So he's really flexible.
Okay.
Yeah, as I said, he's not working.
Is
So one of the main thing is that, yeah, sorry.
No, I was just saying, is he the problem with not having them on the right days, or are your kids the problem in terms of like, they're like, I don't want to go to dad's on Thursday, I want to go on Saturday. Who's the problem here? Like, who creates the lack of consistency? Is it your kids or is it him?
It's a variety of things. So for a while, they didn't want to go anymore because he didn't put any effort in. Then there was a whole range of funny things. He was selling a house, he didn't tell them. Then suddenly, when they rocked up, he said, or the day before, he said, oh, you can't come, I'm selling the house, have a home open. So that happened all of January and February, pretty much. And then now, yeah, he bought elsewhere, or she, or whatever. So it's all up in the open. He's currently staying with his parents, which is suburb away. Yeah, there's just, I would like him to communicate with me in some ways to, how can I put it? It has been so inconsistent over the years that I just want to know when I have them and not just 1 or 2 days beforehand.
Okay.
And the same with every single school holidays as well. So I've learned to then, even when I've given deadlines, he doesn't respond. So I've upped my communication up. Like if I don't hear by that day, this is what I'm going to do.
Beautiful.
But I find it extremely exhausting. And when the kids have now communicated with him, then one said something, then the other one said something else, and it still, it didn't work.
So
That was several times now.
it is best for you and him to do the communication. It really is unfair for the kids to have to communicate when they're going to whose house, right? Because it can leave them feeling like somebody doesn't want them or somebody's trying to get rid of them, and it's just not their responsibility, right? So even though they're, that little bit older, and if you really like them still going to their dad so that you've also got time to yourself, then that's the deal. Make it solid. Now, what I would say is communicate. I'd be interested to know what he would respond if you were to say, hey, I'm just giving you a heads up. You don't have to tell him the details. Just say, things in my world are changing and we are going, because they are, because you're changing, right? It's the truth, right? You don't have to share with him what or why, whether you got a new job or whatever. Hey, things in my life are changing. So just wanted to give you a heads up that as of the next, I understand you're moving house right now and that's fine. But as of, let's just give him a week. Let's give him a little bit of grace, right? As of next week or whatever, as of the week after, give him a date, right? As of then, we are going to need to resort to the plan that we put in place. So on every Thursday or every alternate Saturday, I will be dropping the kids at your house. They will be showing up.
Yeah, well, that's now the added difficulty because she's moving to the other end of town, which means you have to go through the city.
How do you
to
guys
drop
normally change
them.
over the kids? Do you normally do
Sorry?
drop? How do you guys normally change over the kids? Does someone drop them off and pick them up, or what happens?
Well, we live just a few k's away, so they can walk here to school, and from his house they could potentially even walk. He mainly drops them.
Okay.
So they walk to school, and
I would
yeah.
make an assumption on that. I would say, hey, now that you're moving over town, totally get it. So we're going to need to be more solid on our plans. My life is changing too. Yours is changing. Mine is changing. As of next week, I'll give you 2 weeks to move in, but as of then, we're going to need to, resort to our original plan put in place. Now that you'll be on the other side of the town, it's only fair that we share the driving, okay? Even though you're the one that's chose to move away, they're still my kids too, right? So I would suggest that you all do drop-offs, meaning whoever's currently got them drops them to the next spot, whether it's to the other person's house or to school. And then when they come to you, you're responsible for taking them back to him. And then when they're with him, he's responsible for bringing them back to you or to school. So the person who's got them, because if you do it the other way around and you're like, oh, well, I've got them and let's do pickups, not drop-offs, and now you're waiting for him to come pick them up, now the ball's in his court. You can't get rid of the kids until he shows up, and he can be late, he can not show, he can, there's too much power there. Does that make sense? So now that you're going to be on the other side of town, yeah. The other thing I suggest, what we do is we do our drop-offs always at school, basically. So like, for example, tomorrow morning, he'll drop them at school because he's got them at the moment. I'll pick them up from school tomorrow night. I'll have them for the next 2 nights. I'll drop them back at school Friday morning, and he'll pick them up Friday night from school because he lives on the other side of town too. He lives like 45 minutes away, and their school's like in the middle. But even before that, that's how we did it. Like whoever has got them, we drop them off. Yeah. And so it makes it easy now because we don't even have to go to each other's house. We don't have to my kids have to, I'd be driving them to school anyway, whether they were with him or with me. They need to go to school. And then he would be doing the same. So it's just a parent responsibility. No one feels like I'm doing you a big favor and you're doing me a big favor. No, we just have kids and they need to go to school. But you need to come to
Well,
and you need to do what you've done before and go, hey, like I'll be dropping them off. I'll drop them to your house on Thursday. The next week I'll drop them on Saturday, whatever the arrangement is, whatever it is. And you can text him and you can say, if ever you need the plans to change, I need to know by Monday, because sometimes I can't change my rosters or something. And if I haven't heard from you by a Monday, then that's the deal. And if he then says, I can't have the kids, then it's his responsibility to find someone who can, or to leave them at home by themselves for a little while. Like, they're old enough to be home by themselves if he needs to do something, depending on what it is, of course, and vice versa for you. So it's not just like you can dump them back on you and they're your problem. It's like, no, if they're meant to be in your care, then it's your responsibility to work out somewhere else to have them. They can go to friends' houses. They can go to the grandparents' houses. I don't know, whatever the options are. But it sounds to me like you, at some point, maybe got weaker in your boundaries at some point, and then he's just taken advantage of that, and that's just become the norm. So I think you do need to resort back to, this is the deal. This is what I'm dropping them. This is what's happening, and I'm dropping them. So you don't need to wait for his communication. Like on Thursday, I'll just PS on Tuesday, just confirming, I'll drop the kids to you, or I'll drop the kids at school on Thursday and you pick them up. And then you drop them back on Monday morning and I'll pick them up. And maybe you can compromise on a weekend. If you're doing a drop off on Saturday, then you're like, happy to meet you halfway. If it's not a school drop off, happy to meet you halfway. Let's meet in the city. Drop the kids off there. There needs to be a fair and reasonable decision, and that's all. You can't control him. You can only control yourself. So you want to put yourself in a situation where no matter what he does, you're going to do what you do. And how he learns is by learned behavior. Just like he learned this current pattern, he learned it through behavior. He learned it through he could stretch your boundaries. He could walk all over you. He could whatever it was that kind of got you to this point. He learned that was an option. And all he needs to do is unlearn that and learn that it's not an option. And if you've got resistance to that, that would be a good thing.
Yeah, I do. Because I know his parents always jump in, like literally they're always there to rescue. Like he never has to fail, but the kids don't really want that all the time.
I get that, but you can't control that. You're on dad's time. Talk to dad about that. You can't save them from everything. Or if you choose to save them from everything, then you can't be resentful over the fact that you have to have them more, because you're choosing that in choosing to go, oh, well, don't worry about going to grandma's then. If he gets his mum involved, that's up to him, and let them work out their relationship with him. Me and Greg parent very differently these days. It's a little bit sad because we were always on the same page. And in many ways, we are still the same, but he's also very different in some ways now. And that's, a lot of that influence has come from his new partner. And I don't judge her for that. I actually really like his partner and all those things. But she's different. She's very different. She has very different life views to me. And the way they run.
How would you go with the fact, well, now it's a bit of a strange situation. So he's, I don't know, he doesn't really talk to me. So I mainly hear it from the girls, but they are saying like he and his wife are actually separating. It's a bit strange. But then he's moving in with her and paying her rent and I don't know, whatever. So they're sort of voicing we don't really want to stay there. So I feel quite torn what to do.
Tell them that the only thing you can do, you can't save the day. You just have to say, guys, you need to talk to dad about this. Your dad loves you. Talk to him. Tell him that you feel uncomfortable to be at his house now that he's saying that he's not. Like, talk to your dad about this. Would you like me to help you make it easier? I'm not going to do it for you, but I'll do it with you. I'll send Dad a text. I'll say, hey, just a heads up. The girls are feeling really uneasy and uncertain about what's happening with your relationship. And now you're on the other side of town. They're feeling a bit awkward to be at your house. I'm not here to criticize you. I'm just saying that you need to have a conversation with them. I'll send him that message. I'll give him a heads up. But you guys need to have the conversation. I tell my girls all the time, talk to Dad about this. This is a conversation. And I still defend Greg even when I don't agree with his principles. I'm like, you need to communicate to your dad. I don't want you ever believing that you can run from a problem and get someone else, me or whoever, to fix the problem for you. No, show up to your problems. Show up in your relationships. Because when you have a partner that starts to do things you don't like, don't go bitch to your friends about him. Go and talk to your partner. But if you can't talk to your dad, that is going to transfer over into your relationships with men. You need to learn to speak up to your dad.
Yeah, you're right. I've been trying, but yeah.
I would definitely, I would
not,
a little bit stronger.
yeah, probably have to be stronger a lot more in that sense.
And you can give him a heads up, send him a message, and then screenshot the message and send it to your kids. That's what I do sometimes. You know, hey, darling, just letting you know this is the message I sent to Dad, and they can see. I say it nicely to their dad. I'm not saying anything nasty, so that if he has if he was to ever say something over there, oh, your mum sent this, they'd be like, yeah, I've seen it. I've seen the message. Like, don't make it out. You know, like it just puts layers of protection. It also shows, you know, I kind of do it from the point of like, you know, to talk. Your dad loves you. Your dad wants to feel like you can bring these conversations to him. It would break his heart if he realized that he's ever not making himself approachable to you guys, to his daughter. Give your dad a chance. So I always put that in there so that if ever Greg saw the message, or, you know, and it's also the message I want them to feel like my mum doesn't beat up my dad doesn't beat up my mum. You know, we can be different people. Have respect for that. Yeah. Just don't save them. It's not yours to save. You are not responsible for the relationship they have with their dad. Okay? That is all. You are not responsible for that. He is, and they are.
Yeah, I'll probably get way too, yeah.
Okay.
Still too much into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do.
Yeah, thanks.
Take a step back and just do your thing. Drop them at his house and say, just letting you know, the girls will be there at 4 p.m. I'm on my way, leaving home now. Get there, drop him off. Your worst case scenario is you get there and he's not there. And guess what? Guess who that reflects on? Not you. You're like, I sent him a message. I told him on Tuesday. He never replied. I've told him now. Okay, well, now you call him. Where are you? Well, he doesn't answer. You call his mum. Hey, I'm just at his house. The girls are meant to be being dropped off. He knows this. I've messaged him twice this week. Where are you? And let the girls see, without you saying anything, without you bitching, let them see. My dad's freaking unreliable. This is not my mum's fault. I had to go to my nana's because my dad wasn't there or whatever. And yes, it might mean you sit out the front of his house waiting for half an hour, but if you didn't take him, guess what? You would have had him for that same time at your house anyway, probably even longer, probably the whole day. And then you'd be pissed off for 2 days because you never got time to yourself, or you had to work out what to do around your working on weekends or something like that. Just go through a few tough experiences, go through a few shitty situations, don't avoid them, let them happen. Because sometimes the only time children will find a voice is when they are pissed off enough, when they are angry enough to have a go at their dad. And in that explosion of emotion, there's a whole lot of truth and it lands deeply. And after that, you know, things change. Don't avoid the moment. Don't avoid the emotions. Life includes some shitty situations sometimes. Okay?
Yep.
Good on you, darling.
Yeah. No worries. Okay.
Keep you posted. And if something comes up, talk to Shaz about that, your coach. And you can, you can even say you talk to me on this call, so that if you have something for her, she can come to me and go, hey, Holly, Mel spoke to me about this, and I can, you know, give her a bit of a path to go down with you or something like that. If you find that really hard, that is your answer. What I've given you, I really know it's either that or deal with your situation. Either step up, don't make requests, make boundaries. Like, this is what's happening. Not like, oh, could you please? Hey, I'll be dropping the kids off then, for example. So the power is somewhere, you're not relying on him in any way, right? And if that feels too uncomfortable, or you just get to there and you're like, I just can't do it, I just can't, that's okay, no judgment, but let's work out why you can't do that. Let's lean into the fear that you're carrying around that, the lack of willingness to lean into that fear. That's the stuff that'll open up your Shaz, okay?
Yeah.
Beautiful, darling. Let me know how it goes. Keen to know what the response is when you start just getting a bit harder, okay?
No worries. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
So welcome. All right, we're past time. Is Terry Ann, are you here? Oh, yeah, Terry Ann. Christy, I am going to come, I'm going to leave your question tonight just because I've answered so many of your questions in the past, right? And this is something you can work with Danny on. And I have a call with Danny tomorrow. So I will touch base with her and give her a bit of a heads up on that, because the bottom line in, how to get kids to trust you is to be reliable, basically. But I'm not going to have time for all the questions. And Terry Ann, you have not been on these calls for ages, and I do want to answer yours. And Christy, you can get the support from Danny on that. She'll give you the best. She'll give you the same advice I'd probably give you anyway. All right.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, darling, for understanding. And if I need to or whatever, like I said, get involved with Danny, 100%, I will do that. Okay. It's not like you can't get your question answered. I just won't do it here tonight just because we're going a bit over time.
No, that's fine. I was going to ask you to skip it anyway because it's a good big call.
Thank you, darling. You're always so understanding like that. And yes, I just have to make a call somewhere. But thank you. It will be answered, just not tonight. Let me talk to Danny about it tomorrow. Okay? Thank you, darling. All right, TA. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Your answer is very simple, not easy, but simple. Okay. So you're saying, how do I get my son to stop seeing the negative in everything and only focusing on that? It's like he doesn't have the ability to, right? And to begin with right now, that's probably true. He truly might not be able to see anything positive because he's been so trained, and through all of the experiences in his life and bullying and all those things, his perception of the world is that it's a pretty bad place, right? And that would make sense in his situation.
Yeah.
So all I want you to do to start with is just plant seeds. So I want you to imagine that you can't ever expect the harvest from the seeds you never planted. Okay? So if the harvest that you want is your son having positive thoughts, or both positives and negatives, but able to see dualities and polarities, then what we need to do for those seeds to sprout is plant the seeds. Okay. So what digs up the seeds, any seed that might have remotely been there, what digs that up and throws it out is any level of criticism or judgment for the harvest not being there. So when he is negative, first of all, your biggest step is not to criticize the negativity, not to make that wrong. Okay. So you can say things like, oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting perspective. Oh, there you go. Well, that's not how I see it, but just use the word interesting, or you can use the word curious. I'm curious. What is it that makes you see it that way? Ah, very interesting. I like learning how your brain works, right? And all you're doing is go, what do I think about it that? What do I see it that way, right? You're just opening questions, opening curiosity in his own mind. But curiosity is a vulnerable feeling. And so in order to be curious, we have to feel safe, okay? Then what you can do is just plant the seeds, right? So he might be like, oh, I have anything specific you can give me this week? And I can use a real example like that's happened that's top of mind for you, that he was so negative about this particular thing and he couldn't see the positive.
So because we've just been in this town for a few months, which he really wanted to move to, but he said to me, since we've moved here, I've decided that I don't like it because I think everyone here sucks, because the kids at school sucks. This town is shit. I just want to move back to Adelaide. And I'm like, but what about this? What about that? What about, the other? And he just cannot see past, the negatives that have happened. Anything here that's positive now?
Gotcha. Okay. Really good example. So what you can say to him is go, yeah, that's fair. I mean, based on what you've been through, mate, that's a fair call. Fair call.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
first validate. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I mean, and then add to it, right? So you might be like, I totally get it. And you know what? I agree with you. And from your perspective, that's a fair call. I mean, that has been your experience. Although something I love personally about being in Port Pirie is, you know, going out fishing. That's not something we can do in Adelaide, you know, something. So I'm just picking up an example, you know, what I love being able to jump on our bikes and go for a ride. I love the fact that, you know, things are 5 minutes away, not half an hour away. Could be something like that, right?
Yeah.
Where you're not trying to make him think it, you're just saying it in a gentle enough way that he doesn't knock that back. That he's like, oh yeah, me too, I suppose. He just needs to open to yeah, but we could do that in Adelaide. But that's okay. He still said a yeah, right? Yeah, but we could have done that in Adelaide. Yeah, we could, but I don't feel like we ever did it as much as we do it here. And I really enjoy being able to do it more often with you. No, that doesn't have to be how you feel, mate. I'm not saying that how you feel needs to be the same as me, but that's something I really enjoy about being here. And don't get me wrong. There are things about Adelaide that are better than here. And for me, there's things you know, you can say, oh, I like a house better. I like the house better that we've got here than what we had back there. Anything. And you're not making him try to believe it. You're just not even saying, what about what trying to override his feeling, right?
Yeah.
You're like a fair call. That's valid. I see that. I get how you would see that for sure. You know, I'm curious. Outside of that, in addition to all of that, that is absolutely true. In addition to that, is there anything that, let's say, you don't like better than Adelaide, but you enjoy about being here, that's all right about being here? Is there anything? I'm curious to know because it's important to me. And just let him sit with that. See, like the feeling of that is non-threatening. And he's like, well, well, you're happier. You're not as grumpy as you used to be, or it could be anything like that, right? And just good point. Just make it this casual conversation where you're not trying to like put seeds down his throat. You're just planting them, and you don't expect any seed to sprout until it's germinated. And for a seed to germinate, it has to be planted, which means it has to be below the surface, covered in darkness. All right. And it takes time. And while it's taking time, you see nothing happening on the surface. But you still got the patch, and you still water the patch. You still water where you know you put the seed in. You still fertilize where you know you put the seed in. You still keep the weeds out from strangling where you know you put the seed in. You just tend to the seed. So what I want you to do is go back to, I'll tag you in it because I know it's at the top of the group. I know exactly where to find it. I reckon you might have even been on this. It was like back in August 2021, and it's the second person I talked to night. It was about teenagers. So you'll know it. I'll tag you. The first person I talked to is 10-year-old Xander, Nicole's son. He was 10 at the time. I talked to him first. So fast forward where you see his cute little face, and then go to the next person. I'm talking to a girl called Erica. Watch that, and just it's all probably in you. I just want to bring all that to the surface for you, and that's all I want you to do with Harper.
Awesome.
All right, darling?
That's good. I just knew there'd be something. I knew there was, the way I'm handling it is just not bringing out the result that I know he needs to, you know, have help with.
Yep.
And I'm just smashing him down, just like, oh, you know, like, why are you always so negative? You got to think of this. And it's my delivery is terrible.
Okay. But you're aware of it. And you came here and you got help on it. Right? So you have some compassion. Okay. So plant seeds. You're not in harvest season. This is a seed season. He's just been through some winter. He's got no leaves left on the tree. Some of his branches are snapped and broken. The trunk is barely standing, you know, but he's still got the deep roots that have kept him there with what you've given him all his life. His roots are still there. He's absolutely bare other than that. You don't tell the tree to up and grow leaves. You just know, oh, good, the leaves will come back when the season is ready.
Definitely. That makes a lot of sense.
Just remind yourself of what season he's in and meet him in the season.
Will do. Thank you.
So good, darling. Good.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful people. I'll wrap up tonight. Thank you, and thank you especially to you, Christy, for being forgiving of me not getting to your question tonight. I will talk to Danny in the morning, and you're on a good road there anyway. The work I know you're doing with Danny is phenomenal. So, I will see you all back here next week. Good night.